Today we're going to take a look at the A&L fuse holder with 200 amp fuse for Bulldog Winch ATV and UTV winches. This is going to work for 4 to 8 gauge wire. This is going to allow us to have our fuse holder permanently mounted next to our battery on our ATV or UTV. And the nice thing about this is that it is going to be clear, so that allows you to see in there and see if our fuse needs to be changed, if it's been blown. That's also similar to the design of these fuses as well. As you can see, there's the small window on the fuse housing to provide that visible indication if the connector blade has separated and we need to change that out. So whenever you're mounting this up, you want to make sure that you have this oriented in a way that you can see it still within that housing. Now this does come with 4 fuses. We only need 1 at a time to go in our fuse holder, so we'll have a few backups as well, which is always nice. Now to get that installed, you'll just have to unthread one end of the fuse holder. As you can see on the end there, there is a little red grommet there. That's going to allow our wire to come in. We have a couple different sizes. The largest one, that's going to be for the 4 gauge wire. The one that's in there right now, the medium sized one, that's for 6 gauge, and the smallest will be for 8 gauge wire. So whatever application you need there, you'll have a couple different options on how you mount that up. Once you have that unthreaded, you can pull the metal portion out. And on one side we'll have this rounded end. That's where our wire is going to go into. To loosen that set screw, we'll need a 3mm Allen key or hex key. That is not included with this kit, so you will have to pick up one of those on your own or use one that you already have laying around the house. And that just allows that space to open up there so we can put our wire in there, and then we can tighten that set screw back down, and it'll pinch that wire, holding it in place. The other side will have sort of a half moon shape or a half circle shape there, and a screw up top. That's where our fuse is going to sit. So using the same 3mm wrench or hex key, we can open that up. Again, not included, but that's how you'll get your fuse in place. It's easiest to start with the sort of right angle side, put that on there, tighten the screw back down. You don't have to really crank it down on there. You just want it to be snug enough that it's not going to come loose or bounce out of the screw. You just want it to be snug enough to keep it in place. And then I like to just use that straight end to push the other side out and sort of get it in place. So we'll push that in there. Oop. If it falls out, it's not a big deal. You'll just push the other side through, set the straight end in place, and then you're just going to tighten that set screw down on the other side as well. Now another thing you might notice on our fuse holder, we'll have a grommet here, a little rubber grommet on the metal portion that's holding our wire, as well as on either side of our threaded portion of the holder. That's designed to keep any moisture out, especially dust and dirt and things like that. So it's going to help protect our fuse so it doesn't have a chance to corrode or get messed up from any of the elements out there while we're riding around in our ATV or UTV. Then that'll thread down there. You'll want to make sure that you have your wires in place and running through the open ends there. They're the caps. Since once you get it threaded on there, it'll be a little tricky to get it installed. With those, you'll just want to make sure that you cut your wire to length, strip it back about a 1/2 inch before you put it into the threaded end there to hold it down. Now these fuses are a little unique in the fact that they're going to handle higher amperage than compared to many other fuse types. Of course, it is a fuse. It's going to detect when there's excessive current pull from our winch motor, and that'll blow the fuse instead of causing any damage to the winch motor itself. These are going to be these are going to be 250 amp fuses. And again, we do get 4 of those, so we'll have a couple spares. As far as the dimensions on our fuse holder, it's going to be about 3 inches across from end to end, and the diameter of that circle part will be about 1 inch. The mounting flange will be about 1.5 inches wide, and the mounting holes will be about 1.25 inches apart, center on center. To mount this up, you will need to use 1/8 of an inch self-tapping screws. Those are also not included with this kit, so you will have to pick those up on your own. And that's going to do it for our look at the A&L fuse holder and 250 amp fuse for Bulldog Winch ATV and UTV winches.